Hello and welcome. My name is Errity Green and this is Wise Woman Oracle and Tarot, otherwise known as Wise Woman Television. And today I am bringing you a pick a card reading on your next chapter in life, love, and work. So we're going to cover all of the territory as to what is coming for you. So I encourage you to stick around if you find that you like this reading. Do like, subscribe, press the bell icon. That way you are notified every single time a reading pops up. I do want to let you know before we begin that I offer both personal readings as well as coaching programs to support you in your life, in your work, and on your spiritual path. If you are watching this when it is published, I do have a profound program out right now. It's called Spirit Woman. You can check out those details below or at erritygreen.com/spiritwoman. So let's go ahead and place a picture up of your 3 card piles to choose from today, and then we will get started. Okay, so card pile 1. So we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on now, and then we're going to talk about life, love, and work. Okay, so what's going on now? It feels like you've kind of been through a period of inner sanctuary, inner self-discovery, deeper self-reflection. Now, this doesn't feel like a dark night of the soul, although it could be. It feels like a quiet time, a time of reflection, a time of pause, a time of surrender. For some of you, this might mean that you are coming out of like a winter season where you've sort of been cocooning a little bit. And again, it doesn't feel heavy. It doesn't feel like a dark night of the soul, although it could be. It just feels like a time of solitude, a pause, and introspection, reflection, those times of life that we sort of turn inward. And so what's happening now, though, and I feel like you're already feeling this because this is in my pile of like current general energies or maybe even past energy, where you're coming alive and you're starting to feel joy again. You're starting to feel passionate again. You're starting to feel excited again, inspired again, moved again. So you might be feeling a little bit more sensual, a little bit more alive, a little bit more connected, a little bit more excited, perhaps more sociable. You're wanting to get out there. You're wanting to connect with people. You're wanting to share your voice. You're wanting to share your heart and your passions and get around people and share energy and be together and have some fun and have some play. So it just feels very fun and adventurous and exploratory, very lighthearted, very innocent, but also passionate, alive, sensual. Feels like a beautiful energy of spreading your wings, coming alive, and living like a very colorful, rich, vibrant kind of existence. So I feel like you're already stepping into that because this is my current general energies and or past energies. So I feel like you're well aware that this is what's coming up for you right now. So now we're going to talk about what's going on in your next chapter in life and work, life, love, and work. So let's see here. Yeah, so in life, let's see. So it feels like maybe something didn't go your way. Maybe during this time of reflection, of pause, of delay, or whatever that was, it could have been the result of a disappointment or something that didn't quite work out the way that you had hoped or the way that you had wanted. For some of you, it feels like you lost a business or lost a job. Some of you, a smaller amount of you, feels like maybe you lost a relationship or something didn't pan out. This could be a bad investment. We're going to put that in quotes, right? There's truly no good or bad or right or wrong. It's really the meaning that we assign to it. But something sort of went awry. Something didn't really go the way that you wanted. And so there was a time period, again, of turning inward, of taking a pause. And it feels like as a result, gaining additional clarity around what you wanted, what you didn't want, what was good for you, what wasn't, what your next chapter will look like, what it won't, what kinds of decisions and choices that you'll be making. Those might differ from the ones that you made before. Feels like that period kind of like of no fucks given either. Like it feels like that energy of you aren't going to be sort of settling for less or falling for people who are toxic, unhealthy, dysfunctional, on, right? You've made some changes and you've done the inner work and you plan on shifting things up this time around. This next chapter is going to include people who honor you, value you, see your worth. This is going to be opportunities that match your level of worth and value. So you're not going to say yes to something that doesn't honor like your highest potential, what you want to step into, what you want ultimately, right? It's all about like end game, I feel like, for you right now. The big vision, the big dream, ain't settling for less kind of thing, where it's like maybe you went through a period of sort of, you know, walking the path and that kind of thing. But now at some level, your standards have risen. You know, you're just not, you've raised the bar for your life. So you've raised the bar for the kind of opportunities that come in, for the kind of people that can enter your world, for the kinds of things you're going to say yes to or agree to or commit to. You know, you're just like, listen, you know, kind of queen energy, but it doesn't feel like super fierce and boundary, like, you know, where you push everyone away. It just feels like you're honoring yourself. And after this difficult period, whatever that was, loss, disappointment, seeming failure, whatever that was, it offered you this opportunity to reflect and make, we'll say, better choices for yourself in all aspects of your life. But right, we're in the life pile. So for me, this means like it's pretty general. It's like across all domains. You ain't settling for less, and you are sort of reaching for the stars, insisting that life show up for you, and it has to be of a particular caliber. You're not playing anymore, right? But it doesn't, again, it feels, we've already had that kind of playful, coming alive energy that's more lighthearted, so I don't feel like this is fierce, like that level, like Queen of Swords level. This feels like you just know your worth, and things that don't align with that will fall away. You won't even give it your attention, and you move on like it's not even a thing. It doesn't even have to be a boundary. It's just like, not attending to this, am attending to this. It's really simple shift, but you've come to know your worth and value during this time, and that's going to become very clear this next chapter as you sort of expand this new foundation of worth and knowingness and potential and so on and so forth in all areas of your life, as you really own that. So let's talk about love here. Yeah, so let's see here. So you're going through a time, it looks like, again, of recognizing your worth and value. So this is going to come down to love too. So pile number one, this is all about owning your worth and value again. So for you in love, you're starting to see that too. You're starting to see your value. You're starting to see that, you know, kind of dirt off your shoulder, wearing your crown, whatever. Like, you are owning it. You're owning your value, and you're owning how much you bring to the table, and you are only calling on equals, baby. Like, you're not messing around with anybody who can't like meet you at your level, and that's great. It's like the image that I have, actually. Oh, I like this for you, card pile one. Okay, so I get really excited about some really cool things like this. So I feel like you're like sort of in this castle, and you're on this sort of island castle, and there's this big bridge that sort of suitors have to cross in order to approach you. And again, this isn't some fortress with troops and a wall and major defense. It's like ready to, you know, go off at any second. No, this is just, you are in a castle. You're living your life. This is where you live and breathe, and, you know, you're just living your own life, doing your own thing, right? There's zero codependence here. You are fulfilled. You are set. You are on your own. So you're living in your island castle. However, not just any suitor can cross this bridge, right? Because they do require, perhaps we'll say, a horse. Maybe it's a day's travel, right? Or they require some kind of something, right? They can't just show up to the castle and knock on the door and say, hi, queen. You know, whether you identify as queen, king, it doesn't matter, right? I'm just kind of going with traditional, stereotypical generalizations here. And most of my clients, the people I hang out with and talk to, tend to be women. All of that to say, you're hanging out in this island castle, you're living your life, you're gardening, right? You're tending to the things that you want to tend to in your life. Like, it ain't no thing, all these other things, right? However, if someone were to show up and they were to actually be able to offer you something legit, you might, okay, you might give it some consideration. So here you are, not just anyone can travel that distance. You know, they have to be prepared, they have to be equipped, they have to be ready, they have to be available, they have to be able to show up to honor a queen, that kind of thing. So that's the kind of vibe I'm getting with love, where you're now sort of owning your shit, your value, your potential, your worth. And again, this isn't some highly boundaried, you know, you're getting ready to cut everybody off, and if you don't meet this standard, like super intense, where it actually pushes a lot of people away. It's just simple, easy, natural, effortless sovereignty, where you're living your life, you're taking care of you, you're attending to yourself, and that only those who can travel that distance and who are appropriately equipped, prepared, and primed, and so on and so forth, get to approach you. Again, not just anyone's going to show up to that castle and say, hi. You know, it's going to be the people who are, we'll say, worthy. So that's where you're at in your love life. You're just like owning yourself, owning your worth, owning your value. And what this is a greater and deeper reflection of your self-love, of how much more you honor yourself, how much better we could say you see yourself, And you're just recognizing that you're the one who gets to set the standard and the bar for your life. You get to set this bar and standard for who enters your life, what enters your life, what you say yes to, how big or little your life is, how rich, abundant, or less or limited your life is. You are the one who ultimately gets to decide by saying yes or no, yes or no, yes or no. And so you're recognizing that. And again, this is what's happening in your love life, where you're available, you're open, but there's a simple organic sovereignty about you where, again, you're taking care of yourself, taking care of the mind, body, spirit, and the home. And if someone shows up, most excellent. They've done the work to get there, right? To knock on that door. But if not, so be it. And it feels like a really sort of easygoing kind of experience with love, not codependent, or maybe you might have been in the past. Very, again, aware and grounded and rooted in your own worth, and then demanding the same for those who enter your world or realm. So now let's talk about work. Okay, so what's happening in work is I feel like you're still building your confidence in your work. So whether this is an occupation, a traditional occupation, and or a business owner or something like that, an entrepreneur, you still haven't found sort of solid ground yet, or gained like, it's kind of like finding your legs when you're learning how to walk, that kind of thing. And so it feels like you're still a little bit, you're not there yet, but you are available, right? You're available to really anchoring and integrating into sort of this level of confidence and worth and value in your work, really owning your voice, owning your craft, owning what you do. Perhaps there's a new opportunity that's on the way, and you're deciding if that's going to be the case, and you're a little bit reluctant or holding back. But what wants to be looked at here in terms of your work, because it feels like there is an opportunity for new worth and value, new ownership of that, and thus a reflection of that in your experience. But of course, it's going to require you to step into that. So you've already sort of stepped into it in your life, in your love area, and it feels like work, you're on the way, right? Maybe not fully anchored in, but you are on the way, and you're stepping into more empowerment, more embodiment. Again, still, owning your worth and value, owning your work in the world. I feel like this can go two ways. Actually, I'm feeling like, so some of you might feel pretty, I don't want to say pretty reluctant, but you feel a little reluctant, a little apprehensive, still not quite have found your legs in your work or your voice, or even it could just be your ownership of it, your confidence in it. So I think that may have held you back in the past, or maybe even had something to do with some of these things that collapsed in the past, not for all of you, but for some. And so then you're being asked to really focus on those areas where you do feel inferior, where you haven't truly owned your worth, where there is still a gap or a deficit in owning your worth and value and your potential. So you might want to take a look at that. That way you can bring about these same changes that you're experiencing in these other areas of your life and your work, so that you can experience that success and accomplishment and achievement and so on and so forth that you seek in your work domain. Once you start owning your worth and value there, you're going to see similar changes as you've seen in your life and your love so far. The other side of this is some of you went through a period of reluctance of kind of finding your legs and gaining confidence, and now you're stepping really fully into, again, the ownership of your worth, value, potential. And it's kind of like you're taking the bull by the horns, taking the reins back, taking your power back. Of course, we already heard earlier that sensual aliveness, that fun, that play energy, that passion, that's there too. And I feel like these are connected a little bit, where you are like kind of owning your shit and you're owning your voice and you're sort of rocking it. So this is that next chapter for you, card pile one. It feels like you're owning it. That's really what it is. You're owning it, all right? So you're owning yourself and your life and your love and your work. And as a result, your life is reflecting back to you. And this isn't some magical, esoteric, mysterious thing. It's we allow our life to be whatever it is. So we're the ones who are committing to it, agreeing to it. It doesn't mean that change happens overnight, but it does mean ultimately we have the authority and we get to decide what our life looks like, who's in it, what we say yes to, what we commit to, what we agree to, what we invest in, if we don't invest, on and on and on. And because you've raised the bar, you've recognized your worth and value, you're now starting to see that only some people get to enter this world, all right? Only some opportunities are worth your time, attention, and investment, and then work as well. You're not just saying yes to anybody or anything or any role or any occupation or any hat. You're owning your worth and value, and thus you're going to see that experienced in your reality. So you're owning it, card pile one. If this resonates for you, I encourage you to like, to subscribe, press the bell icon. That way you receive notifications moving forward. I'd also like to hear your feedback in the comments below. I do offer both personal readings as well as coaching programs. Spirit Woman is enrolling now. You can check out those details below or at erritygreen.com/spiritwoman. Thank you, card pile 1. Okay, card pile 2. So we're going to talk a little bit about current general energies. This could be past energy for some of you. And then we're going to talk about life, love, and work. Okay, so you've been through a period of some deep healing, deep cleansing, detox. For some of you, this is sort of inner work, shadow work, personal work. For some of you, this could have been a dark night of the soul, just a deep healing and purification process, really moving and clearing out those dense or darker energies. There's no value system here of this is bad, this is good, this is not, all that stuff. We're just saying like this is the way it is and you're clearing that out, or you have. And I feel like it's been like a period of deep clearing, purification, rejuvenation. For some of you too, this is a physical experience as well. So either you're going through that physical detox. For a lot of you, I do feel like this is past energy though, and you're sort of at the tail end. We'll say there's 100% of a process. You're like at least 75%, most of you. So this, of course, I say that I also feel some around 50%, but this is underway for you, and you already are aware of this, card pile 2. So as soon as I'm saying this, you're like, yes, because here's what's going on. Some of you have also experienced physical health ailments or anomalies over the past couple of few years. Again, this is these are these old energies clearing out. This is old emotional energies, history, trauma, karmic energy, generational energy. A lot of that stuff is moving out and on the way so that you can embody more light energies, or more of your light body or higher vibrations. Again, there's nothing wrong or better or superior or inferior. It doesn't matter. But this is where your soul wants to be right now. And this is also what your human has sort of connected with and agreed to and wanted to come forward. So that's what's been happening for you over the last several years, or the last few years. If you have been through a period of some difficult trials and tribulations, some clearing out, some moving and shifting and shaking, things kind of crumbling in your reality, old energies coming out, aka emotional turmoil, dark night of the soul, depression, rage, anger, repressed emotions, facing old traumas, perhaps even working with a therapist or something like that. Perhaps you're doing yoga and you're noticing things come up for you. Perhaps you're even in a period of isolation or solitude and you're like, where are all these emotions coming from? I'm not even engaging with very many people or with drama or whatever. It's all old stuff. You're clearing the slate, you're cleaning the slate, clearing and cleaning everything out so that way you can embody a different experience, embody a different emotional foundation, a different cleaner vessel, clearer vessel for what you want to create, for what you want to call in, for what you want to ultimately experience on the inside. So you've been going through this deep clearing, detox, purification, rejuvenation, renewal, such that you are now awakening to new you. So whatever that looks like, it feels like your next chapter is new you. We're going to see what that looks like, what new you looks like in life, love, and work here in just a moment. But if you have been experiencing any kind of physical health ailments, I am not a doctor. I have a disclaimer in the comments below. You are your final authority, as well as your professionals that you work with, especially your medical doctor. That's where your healthcare is. That's, that's just the way it is. And what we say in the Western world, all right? But here's the thing. You have recognized for you this is a spiritual process, even though you've done sort of the symptom management, been working to improve your health, so on and so forth, and looking at all the areas that you know are relevant to look at. You recognize, though, that ultimately was a spiritual shift, an emotional shift. And so you're clearing out that mental and emotional body, changing those belief systems, becoming aware of your belief systems. Sometimes it's as simply as that, or as simple as that, clearing out some old emotions, even contacting your emotional body, developing more emotional intelligence and intimacy with yourself. There's more self-love here. There's a greater connection to self here. There's a greater and deeper relationship with your inner child, with your history, even with your parents, connecting with the parts of you that are sort of innocent, the original you, also contacting some karma and karmic identity, where you've been, who you've walked with, what those larger themes of your soul's journey have been and how it's playing out in this life. You've been doing a lot of work, and I want to acknowledge that and really celebrate you because a rare person on this earth does this kind of work, and that's the truth. We're talking top 2% of humanity here. So good work, job well done, and that's where you've been. And so let's find out where you're going here in your next chapter: life, love, work. Okay, so in life, Oh yeah, so you've really stepped into this greater embodiment, or you are at the moment. This is underway, whether you feel like really anchored in it, fully integrated or not, you know, really owning your high self, your true self, just coming forward as all that you are, just really owning who you are, really knowing who you are, trusting who you are, allowing more of your soul self, spirit self come through. And that part of you is just all knowing and limitless. There is no like sort of clout or pretense or even persona. None of that's there. Nothing that's inauthentic or based in conditioning. And so it just feels like there's this part of you that is strong, but not in a way that's trying to prove anything or own or possess anything, just strong, because you're in your knowingness, because you're walking as a soul, you know, as an aware being on this planet. And it's almost like that feeling of someone who really knows who they are, that self-realization. They walk through a crowd and somehow, some way, everybody notices them. And it's not because they're saying, hey, over here, look at me. Hey guys, waving this flag. It's not because of that, right? That's more ego. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's the stage many of us go through, and many of us when we're toddlers. Some people carry on for an adult, all adulthood. Some people are Leos. Just kidding, that was a joke. I do love Leos. And what I meant is like, you know, hey, me, look at me. But all of that to say, you're not drawing attention to yourself or trying to draw attention to yourself or demanding attention, but you might very well command it. That's the kind of ownership of yourself that you're now walking with. And again, there's no like superiority here or any of that stuff that's leading to that kind of ownership of yourself. It simply just is, and you walk with that. And so what's happening in your life is things are starting to move and unfold toward bringing your greater vision to fruition. You're moving into that greater harvest, that greater abundance. Let me see that wants to come through here, because I feel like there's something here and I'm not picking it up on it immediately. Yeah, okay. So you might have had a big dream, and you might have had an idea of how you wanted to feel, how you wanted your life to look, how you wanted to experience it. But for whatever reason, whatever had happened in the past, or whatever you were holding on to, whatever karma, energy, whatever it is you believe or subscribe to, the work that you've been doing the past few years, it simply wasn't going to be possible to experience what it is that you wanted on the inside or on the outside, carrying around what you were. Whatever mental and emotional baggage that you were carrying, whatever limitations you were carrying, whatever kind of self-defeating thoughts, ideas, or behaviors you were engaging in, whatever, however it looks and takes form in your reality, in your world, in your life, in your inner experience, it just wasn't going to be possible. It feels like you would have sabotaged it, so at some level not been able to receive it and hold it. You might have lost it in one way or another, and it just wouldn't have been sustainable for you. That's just one way. You might have just said no to it plain out from the get-go, let alone built it and then sabotaged it. Obviously, those kind of things happen more subconsciously. All of that to say, a lot of this stuff had to clear out, or at least be known, and you had to be aware of it in order to traverse this sort of path or journey that brings about this greater fruition of your bigger dream and vision. It's like you wanted this bigger vision and dream. It was always meant to be yours, but then for it to be yours, it was going to be a clearing out and a purification and a cleansing and a release of old systems, ideas, beliefs, philosophies, agreements, commitments, investments, so on and so forth, that were limiting you and keeping you bound to your past, to your history, to your biological family of origin, such that if we're born into particular conditions and circumstances, if we don't change our operating system, our path is to walk that same path of our biological family of origin. There's no way to leave. You're living within the matrix, within the construct. There's no way to get out. The only way to break through is to do this deep work, to do this deep healing, cleansing, purification, recognition, ownership, reconciliation, the great reckoning. So you do that, and that's what clears all that stuff out. That clears out that old operating system. It clears out that old pattern and programming. It clears out all that stuff, that archaic system that might have been operating within your DNA, your very biology, as well as your energy body, and so on and so forth. And it was keeping you bound to a reality that was going to remain limited. You weren't going to be able to break through from that space. And I think it's important for you to recognize this, card pile, too, because I don't think you were fully aware of what was happening to you or why. And you may have felt victimized at different times, and you couldn't fully appreciate being someone who is awake and conscious and intentional why this would happen to you and what went wrong, and there was nothing ever wrong with you. It was really everything that you did right. So life was trying to deliver to you exactly what you wanted, but it was going to require this great clearing and purification so that you were no longer subscribing to an old belief, value, program, an old operating system that was never going to be able to deliver to you or give to you what it was that you truly wanted. So that was the work that you did, and that's what's being delivered in your life now because you've upgraded your operating system. So let's talk about your love life. Ooh, yay. So love life, I feel like someone's entering your world. It almost makes me cry because it feels such like a beautiful love story. But it feels like sort of that, even that fantasy or fairy tale relationship. And of course, I never want to sort of portray or attempt to sort of hold up these fantasies that are ungrounded and inauthentic and unreal. However, I feel like this does and will feel too good to be true for you. And again, I think this is because of the deep work that you've done. And so now you're able to step into and embody these lighter energies and thus bring someone into your world that honors that level, that value, those frequencies also. You don't have to subscribe to those terms. Sometimes we're limited, but you've done the work, so I want to honor with my words and the way that I share. And you're going to bring in what it is that was always meant for you. This feels like life path partner, feels like a lifelong partner if you decide it to be. It feels soulmate energy. It just feels really beautiful, grounded, simple, down to earth. It's whatever it is that you wanted, whatever your bigger dream was, whatever you had sort of always wanted for yourself but haven't experienced yet. And part of this is because you've become ruthless about getting what you deserve. And through this experience, especially through these trials and tribulations, you've sort of become this person who isn't going to take any shit. Like, you're not going to just put up with anyone. You're not going to allow just anyone to come into your space or to come into your world or your life or your home. You've really started to honor yourself, your life, your body. Even those of you, whether male or female identified, so whatever your sacred private parts are, you've come to know them as sacred. And you're not going to just be exchanging energy with any person. You just recognize your level of sacredness. Again, where you walk through the crowd and like the crowd sort of parts and everybody sees you and you command that attention even though you didn't ask for it, you don't even care for it, you certainly don't need it, but everyone kind of notices you. It's kind of that energy of really commanding and knowing your worth and honoring yourself as sacred, and you're honoring yourself as a sacred vessel. And so you've become sort of this gatekeeper for yourself as to what enters and what doesn't, what enters your realm, your reality, your body, or whether you exchange in whichever way, whichever direction. But you are now honoring that, and there's just that acknowledgement really of you owning your worth and value, and that's now allowing this greater dream to come true. So it's like if you wanted this big fantasy but you were willing to accept, it's like you want this delicious meal, but if you're willing to accept McDonald's, then you're just going to get McDonald's. But when you are raising the bar and you say, well, I can't possibly eat McDonald's because this is what it does to my body and the food never decays and and you have all the whatever reasons, it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to involve the mind, but you're like, my food has to be organic and grown and whatever. Whole Foods. Let's just say that's what it is. And that's what you're going to get, right? And so due to this path and process that you have walked, you're now inviting this person into your world. Let me see if we can get a time frame on it. Is it 3 months, 6 months, a year? It feels like within 6 months for most of you, you will meet someone. And this could be someone that you decide to be temporary or more lifelong. It does have the potential for a companionship, lifelong companionship, or even a committed companionship if you're not the type of person who really wants something lifelong. Within the next 6 months, most if not all of you will be meeting someone who carries the potential for this. Ultimately, it's going to be up to the both of you to make it work, right? You have to be the one to commit to each other, to do whatever work of the relationship or whatever that requires, and to continue to feed it and allow it to cultivate and bloom, flourish. So that's what's coming up in your love life. What's happening in your work? Yeah, so through this transformation that you've been through, you have now made it possible for greater results, successes, and accomplishments to come to you. So you've been on the path for a while. You've been sort of putting pen to paper, walking your talk, putting your money where your mouth is, and you might even be that person who's like, show me the money. Where is it? What's going on? Why hasn't it arrived? I've done this. Like, I've put in the work. I've given the time. I've put in the time, like, hello, where is it? And it's on its way, if not already here and landing as we speak. Those successes, those results are landing as we speak. They're in your energy field. Perhaps you might even feel it. You might have noticed a little bit, things start kind of simmering, or you've started to notice a little bit more of energy. You've noticed maybe little things popping up of little successes or accomplishments, maybe a little bit more attention or recognition to your work. But you've noticed things kind of popping up, and maybe, you know, it's like a pot of water that boils. You start seeing those little bubbles start coming up from the bottom of the pan. You're like, oh, the boiling is on its way. It's coming. And then it starts boiling and bubbling, and it's like, and then sometimes it even overflows, right? The pot overflows, and I feel like it's overflowing for you. So you're entering your next chapter, and your work's going to be very successful. It's going to bring about a lot of recognition, a lot of success, a lot of accomplishment. I actually feel very emotional. So I feel like you finally feel seen, you finally feel valued, you finally feel heard in your work, whatever role you play, hat you wear, whether it's corporate, traditional, blue collar, white collar, owning your own business, entrepreneur, service-based work, whatever. You enter this new era, this new chapter of greater recognition, greater success. Here's the thing, you have to own that though, right? So it's like, I have this little message, this isn't for all of you, but it's, there's this message of remembering your value, because things might come your way, but if you don't say yes to them, meaning it might even require you to jump into something, or to say yes to an opportunity, or to put your money where your mouth is, or whatever. It might require something out of you. And so if that's the case, do that. Because how can you enter a door that you haven't walked through? You do have to walk through the door. That's not the case for all of you. I feel like some of you have created such a fertile ground. This is ready to bloom. It's blossoming as we speak. You might not even see it, but it's happening. I think you do feel it for sure. Things are happening. Things are well underway. Those successes and recognition, all the things that you sort of worked for however long, it feels like, some of you for years, if not a decade or longer, these things are coming to the surface. These things are rising to the surface. Everything's starting to bloom and everything's starting to blossom for you. The successes very much are on the way as a result of this shift. Whatever you've been through the past few years have sort of cleared the way, cleaned the slate, invited in these energies of just higher level energies of all the things that you want, really, right? And so those results are very much on their way. And let's see if we can get a time frame. Is it 3 months, 6 months, a year? I'm not getting any one in particular. Is it 3 months, 6 months, a year? I'm not feeling anyone in particular. Sometimes I can get a nice estimate for you. I feel like for 3 months, and I feel like the reason we're not getting an exact time frame is because it feels like it's already landed. So this could already be underway and very clear to many of you, or at least some of you, if not relatively immediate in the very near future. So it could just be now, in the next month, the next 30 days. But your next chapter, regardless, most certainly includes greater success, recognition, material abundance, and also fulfillment, joy, excitement, just that excitement, that feeling moved about, again, finally experience that success that you've worked so hard for. So card pile 2, that is your reading. That's your next chapter in life, love, and work. If this resonates for you, I encourage you to like, subscribe, do press the bell icon. I'd absolutely love for you to get an announcement every single time a reading pops up, especially, of course, if it lands for you and you want to be a part of this community. I want to let you know that I offer personal readings as well as coaching programs. You can find more details on that, as well as Spirit Woman, that's enrolling now below, or at erritygreen.com/spiritwoman. Thank you, card pile 2. Okay, so card pile 3, just fixing our view here. Card pile 3, what's going on in your world? What's going on in your next chapter, card pile 3? Let's take a look. So we're going to talk about current general energies. For some of you, this could be past energy, but for many or most of you, it's going to be sort of current or underway. Then we're going to talk about what's going on in life, love, and work. Okay, so right now you're going through a period of feels like of healing, some heart healing especially. So for some of you, this could be around relationship, around parents or caregivers or authority figures when you were a child. For some of you, this is more self-love, but there is some kind of heart healing that's underway here. It feels very feminine. It feels very flowy. It feels very tender. It feels very, very tender. So you're in this soft, tender place, maybe even a period of grief or depression. It feels more like grief than it does depression, because depression tends to come along with some numbness and a lack of feeling, but I very much feel tenderness, softness. I feel crying. So I feel like for many of you, it's almost like this tenderness that opens your heart to the world. This tenderness that doesn't make you harder or numb, but actually makes you feel more. That makes you feel more alive, more sentimental, more connected, more compassionate. Really connecting to love as a force, love as it is, right? Not just the kind of attachment, codependent human love that we tend to see in the movies or hear about in songs, but love as the divine. I feel like you're going through this period of opening your heart. That's actually what it feels like the most. Opening your heart. Some of you, I am feeling I want to speak to it because I feel like this is relevant for some of you. Obviously, it's not going to land for everybody. You have to apply the energy to how it's showing up and form in your life. However, some of you might be pregnant, and so you're a few months along, maybe 3 months along. If that's the case, and then you're here and you're watching, you do need to comment below and share if you feel comfortable, because that's pretty spot on. For some of you, you are stepping into motherhood, it feels like. So I feel like some of you are stepping into a time of having children, whether it's conception and or giving birth and or early motherhood and or 3 months pregnant. Many of you feel like you're in that time of that ripe sort of femininity. And that's not going to be the case for all of you. For some of you, it's heart healing. For some of you, it's spiritual healing. For some of you, you're stepping into a greater spiritual embodiment of sort of that vibe of consciousness or love itself, love as a force, the united field, where you're sort of, I've read this book before. It was many years ago. It's a yellow book. I don't wonder if it's around here. No, it's not. But it was something about the warrior or whatever, and you could look it up. Maybe I think it's like Shambhala Publications, perhaps. Like, this is me guessing. But anyway, it has been so many years, maybe 7, 8 years. But anyway, the quote on this book says something like, a true warrior does not walk with like armor and a sword. A true armor walks in sorrow because his heart is always open. Something like that, right? And I feel like there's something here about you becoming tender-hearted, more connected to love, more connected to others, more connected to togetherness, community, connection, love in some way, this feminine energy, whether you identify as feminine, masculine, man, woman, it does not matter. So whatever this energy is for you is what it is for you. Now, for most people, they got a little bit more of an introduction for their general past energies. We're going to see more of what's happening for you in life, love, work as we move forward here. But I do feel something about forgiveness. I feel something about heart healing. I feel something about heart opening. So however that journey looks for you is what it looks like for you uniquely. And perhaps you're here and even asking because you might not even have recognized that was happening, but it is, because that's what's coming through. So let's see what's going on in your life. Maybe we'll get some more specifics around what's going on for you specifically. Yeah. Okay. So, and you guys got an extra card that just fell out of the deck. So you're going through a period of healing, growth, transformation, evolution, integration. So you are doing that heart healing work. I do feel like for some of you, this is attached to, I have a really bad headache all of a sudden on the left side of my head. So I do wonder if for some of you that's relevant. I'm only sharing because it was there and now it's gone, and now it's back. I would prefer that go though. Okay. So you're going through this period of healing, of growth, and it feels like really deep work. It feels like soul work, soul level, soul deep work, regeneration, cell regeneration, spiritual regeneration. It's interesting because we had a little bit of a flavor of this in card pile 2, although it felt different. And for you, I feel like you're just more in the thick of it right now. They're at the very tail end of it, or coming out of it completely, or I feel like you're still in the thick of it, or kind of traversing those final few layers where you're still feeling sort of submerged. But you're tender and you're walking with it, and it's creating a lot of fertile ground for newness, for new seedlings, for new blossom, for new harvest. I feel like that's what's happening at a deeper level, a deeper layer, is you're creating this really beautiful, rich, fertile ground for what's to come in your next chapter. And it's interesting because we have this card, Winter's End. It says rebirth, positive outcome, regeneration. Oh my gosh, it's 100% what I've already said here. Beautiful. So yeah, that regeneration that we talked about, cellular regeneration, but even positive outcome they got. And it's interesting because I very much felt like that fertile ground, that rich soil. It's like it's ready. It's like all of this work that you're doing, this inner work, is actually just creating fertile ground, fertile soil, fertile ground, fertile soil, because it feels very rich. And I feel like whatever it is that you're doing, whatever this heart healing is, spiritual healing, whatever this deepening into this more feminine energy or love, whatever that is. And I feel like this might be connected to self, might be connected to family of origin or biological parents or authority figures and caregivers. Could be connected to a past love. That doesn't feel as prominent as maybe it did when I opened. But you're doing that work, and I feel like for you, again, you might feel like you're still submerged and there's not a clear path out. There's not like a clear light at the end of the tunnel. It doesn't feel like you guys are like deep in the depths of the dark, walking through the valley of the shadow of death of a dark night of the soul. You very well could be. But this feels a little bit more tender, a little bit more soft than it does feel like heavy, deep, or dark. All of that to say, this does sort of feel like this journey through the underworld for you, where you are, it could be that dark night of the soul vibe, where you're traversing those deeper layers of your subconscious, really looking at what's conditioned, what's not, what's true, what's not, what is a true desire, an authentic desire for you, what's not, really honoring those deeper layers of yourself, those inner voices, the inner child, getting to know your subconscious more, getting to know the deeper layers and levels of yourself. So it's like we go through this period where we kind of just know the outer layer, and as we age, we get to know those deeper layers all the way down to like those root layers where you're looking at karmic cycles, generational cycles, past lifetime patterns in history. You're looking at what you've carried, what you've brought forth into this life, what you're passing on to your children if you have children. Like you're looking at all that deep embedded conditioning, and then you find the root, which is, complete limitlessness. And there's no conditioning. It's just you, soul, spirit, God, cosmos, higher power, source. And that's what you uncover once you get to those deeper layers, because you're able to sort of reveal yourself as you are. All that kind of excavation work lifts any of that debris, lifts any of that hardened sediment, lifts any of that stuff that's sort of in the way of seeing yourself clearly. So by looking at it, you become aware of it, and you're almost sort of clear of it. Because you're aware of it, you're clear of it, and now you can own who you truly are, which is spirit, which is God's self, source, spirit. So like you're becoming aware of both sides of that coin, both parts of and aspects of who you are. That's what's happening in your life. It's not being very clear about, it is actually, I will say, because as I said, I was getting ready to say that, and it's like, no. So I'm moving back here before I move on. And it feels like, just so you know, you're coming out of that time of the dark, time of the submersion, time of that subconscious work, those deeper, darker layers. It feels like you're coming out of that. And so I feel like that's maybe why it doesn't feel like too dark or deep or intense and or feel like total submersion or like cut off or disconnection or depression or numbness and any of that. I feel like you're at that point of like tenderness and sentimentality. You've opened your heart. You've done some of that healing work. The light is coming through. And so what you're being assured here by spirit in this reading is your next chapter is more light. It is more springtime. It's, sort of kind of seeing some of the first bits of the planting of the seedlings that you've done. You're kind of starting to see slivers of outcomes, of results of the shifting and the work and the adjustment and transformation work, that deeper sort of discovery and exploration that you've done. You're starting to see some of those fruits of your labor, but it's just like these little seedlings, and it's just like these little plants, not quite bushes and trees yet, but you are going to start seeing that. It's going to start being very clear to you. You're going to have more light in your life, more joy in your life. You're coming out of that tunnel vision even. So your next chapter is lighter. Your next chapter is more easygoing. Your next chapter, a weight lifts, and you have a little bit more pep in your step, a little bit more joy in your heart, a little bit more aliveness. You're coming alive again in a lot of ways in your life, card pile 3. So now let's talk about love and work. So love. Okay, so you're stepping into a time, a period. This next chapter is more about authenticity, really who you are, beyond those layers and levels of limitation or lack or whatever it was that was coming through during this period of discovery, of excavation, of exploration. Perhaps you were looking sort of at codependency or other patterns that have held you back in relationships or not allowed you to experience your fullest potential in that area. It's like a lot of that is becoming clear to you. I don't feel right away that someone's coming in right off the bat. I did for card pile 2, but I do feel like there is a little bit more of excitement on the way. Maybe you start dating and dipping your toe in the water. Maybe you start, building a profile and going on apps. Maybe you start joining classes or events and you start seeing people around. It feels a little bit playful and exploratory, lighthearted, easygoing, organic, natural, effortless. It doesn't feel like you're out there striving to find someone now. It feels like this gentle leaving behind, like the groundhog who leaves, the hole behind and kind of peeps its head out and goes back in, and peeps its head out and goes back in. Feels like you're sort of you know, allowing yourself to sort of step out there, see what's out there, check things out, maybe make eye contact with someone, this and that and the other. But it just feels a gentle, exploratory, curious. But it feels like getting to know yourself again in love, getting to know who you are in love. What do you look like not actual physically appearance wise, but like, who are you in the dating scene now? If you are not in a relationship. But I feel like you might even be rediscovering yourself within a relationship. Meaning like, you know, after you've done this deep work, you know, sometimes you can come out a different person. So you might be rediscovering who you are within this relationship and what form this relationship is going to take now. And if it is even something you want to, you know, remain committed to for some of you. And if I'm saying that, you already know it, so there's not a shock to you. But one way or the other in love, feels like spring, new beginnings, dipping your toe in the water, exploring, peeping your head out, playing the groundhog, going out there and exploring a little bit. It just feels like new beginnings, exploring, you know, getting curious, but it doesn't feel like, you know, the next chapter that, you know, it doesn't feel in this reading right here as we are that you're meeting your soulmate tomorrow. That feels like if you are seeking someone and you identify as single, that it feels like in the next year, you'll be making well enough of a shift to where you're fully comfortable to be inviting someone in. So now let's talk about work. Yeah, so you have deepened within your work, within yourself. Whatever it is that you do, I feel like you might either be shifting direction, considering a career change or a new career path. Some of you might be going back to school. Some of you are deepening into your healing and spiritual work. And for the first time, you want to go out there. You want to be a doula. You want to, you know, do energy healing. You want to do spiritual work or spiritual coaching, or, you know, something like that, where you've deepened so much within yourself that whatever it was you were doing before doesn't quite hit the spot. So you're going to be offering a greater depth. Whatever role you play, hat you wear, or occupation you embody or identify as, you'll be walking in there with deeper energy, with a deeper awareness of yourself. Again, some of you are going to be shifting things up, adjusting and tweaking things. Some of you are going to be stepping into an entirely new career, occupation, or career path. Some of you are going to be going back to school and getting education and or taking some kind of training or program that allows you to step into a role that has the depth that you're seeking. So one way or another, I feel like you're advancing into a new direction, a new career path, and you're getting that trainer education if required. If you're already on your life's work path and you already feel pretty sound in that regard, I feel like you've deepened in some way. You're able to offer more a depth, a wisdom, more, maybe even more compassion, humility, just more connection, rooted, earthy, where you're just able to offer, again, more of that heart healing, more of that true self, spirit self, more of your authentic self, you know, beyond all the artificial, contrived, superficial stuff. You just have a really deep embodiment that you're now able to offer in whatever path that you choose, whatever work path that you choose. So if you are considering taking a program or returning to school, education, training, becoming an apprentice, if you are considering investing in something at this time to shift your path or to adjust it or to upgrade, if you are considering changing your career path or doing something different, this would be the affirmation to do so for you, card pile 3. So card pile 3, that is your reading. For you, you're going through deep healing and exploration, or, you know, you're in the middle of it, moving toward the tail end of it. You're being told that your next chapter is full of more light. It's full of more harvest and bounty, although it feels like little seedlings and little edges of results, like not quite the big shebang or the big bounty just yet, but very clear for you. It's just enough for you. It's exactly what you need and what you want and what you can hold right now, because you're still going through a place of really holding yourself. And then in love, again, it's still very exploratory. It's like the beginning of springtime, where, you know, you're not quite all out there and fully bloomed, but you're out there and you're checking things out and you're dipping your toe in the water. And work, I think you're shifting things up for many of you, or deepening into your path if you're already there. So thank you, card pile 3. If this resonates, I encourage you to like, subscribe, press the bell icon. That way you receive notifications as more readings come up. I also would love to hear your comments below. I do offer personal readings as well as coaching programs. You can check out those details below, as well as on the program that is enrolling now called Spirit Woman. It's a year-long coaching community to nurture your true nature and highest potential. Check out those details below or at erritygreen.com/spiritwoman. Thank you, card pile 3.